Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Dine Sports YouTube page and podcast network. Today we're going to be talking all things hockey, sports business, and how to transition from the life of an athlete to the sports industry itself when you are trying to start up your own company or joining a sports firm or something like that. So got some real great insights and tips and tricks from our guest, Evan Brownrigg of Next Gen HKY. Evan is a former 5-year junior player who ultimately transitioned into the coaching and sort of skills training techniques after his playing career wrapped up, and that's how he got involved with Next Gen HKY. And he and his partners over at that firm there, they work with close to 10,000 athletes a year, and that ranges from the grassroots systems, minor hockey, novice, peewee, all the way up through to working with one-on-one NHL level clients, AHL level clients, USport, you name it. So definitely a wide range of clientele and sort of skills and tips and tricks that they have to have in their toolkit at any given time there. But yeah, we unpack a lot about his hockey playing career and then sort of what it was like transitioning once he did sort of hang up the skates in a player sense there to get to where he is today, because they're doing tremendous work in the community and they're just thriving. Next Gen HKY has multiple locations in the city, and they are expanding at a pretty rapid pace, which just goes to show the quality of the programs that they're delivering there. So hope you guys enjoy. Hey guys, thanks for joining us for episode 20 of the Dine Sports YouTube page and podcast series. Joining me today is Evan Brownrigg of Next Gen HKY. Evan, how are you, sir?
Not too bad. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, things are well in your neck of the woods?
It is, yeah. It's definitely different times, but we're adjusting and we're surviving here, so all good.
Yeah. I'm sure you guys are starting to sort of ramp up, obviously, activities now that they're starting to ease restrictions a little bit, but has it been weird without hockey and some of the, restrictions and phase 1, phase 2, all of that? What's that been like on your end so far?
Yeah, there's definitely an adjustment period of trying to figure out what we were going to do when everything was kind of shut down. I guess on a personal life standpoint, it was nice to have a little bit of time with family when I probably normally wouldn't have. So definitely enjoyed that. But now we're back on ice. It's just a little bit of extra careful planning in terms of spacing kids out and what you're able to actually do on the ice. But it's feeling like normal-ish again.
Yeah, slowly getting there for sure. And maybe the easiest way to sort of start this is let's start at the beginning for you, right? So in terms of, obviously now you're COO of Next Gen HKY and coach and all of that, but it all started somewhere, right? So how old were you when you first actually put on a pair of skates?
Probably like every Canadian kid, I was probably, 4 or 5 years old, and all I wanted to ever do was hockey. And obviously I had the goal of, making a career of it as a player, and didn't quite get there. And I guess probably around the age of 18, 19, my last couple of years in junior, I was starting to realize that, okay, maybe this tunnel's closing in on me, and my time's going to come in terms of playing. So I transitioned over to coaching, and it was kind of something I enjoyed right away, and just kind of snowballed into where we are today.
Yeah. And were you sort of a multi-sport athlete growing up, or, as you say, was it hockey 365 a year for you?
No, I wish I was a bit more multi-sport. I mean, I played a bit of soccer, and soccer was I was probably better at soccer when I was younger, but liked hockey more. So my wife always teases me that I'm not really a multi-sport athlete. I'm just good at one thing. So unfortunately for me, it's really just hockey.
Yeah. Well, hey, at least you found your niche. That's for sure then.
Yeah. Be good at one thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, I mean, you already mentioned it. You had multiple years playing at the junior level of hockey, and a lot of the clients that you're working with now are either in junior, major junior, possibly university, and all of that as well too. Are there any sort of experiences that you've lived that you sort of draw on when you're trying to either relate to a new client or interact with them and form that bond?
I think just having played the game at not the highest level, but a decently high level, I'm able to kind of understand what they're going through. I understand what their day-to-day is. I understand the grind it sometimes can be. So we put in work, but we insert fun kind of within it. So I I think for me, the positive coming from playing is just being relatable, being able to demonstrate a level that works for the guys in terms of being able to understand what we want, but also understand kind of they got other stuff going on, and I need to work towards them.
Yeah, for sure. And, obviously there would have come a time as well, too, where, as you say, you saw sort of the tunnel was closing as far as actually being hopping over the boards. And, you're starting to maybe start thinking more about being behind the boards a little bit more. Was there one or two moments that maybe sort of stood out for you that you went, you know what? I really want to make a career out of coaching or instruction or that sort of thing.
Yeah, I guess for me, it actually came as a player. So Derek Miller, who's I guess my boss here at Next Gen, I started doing player development with him when I was, I don't know, maybe like 16 years old, and I was playing, I don't know, low level competitive, I think at the time. And I did some development with him, and then I made junior next year, and then I did some development with him, and I went up a rung in junior, ended up getting a scholarship to the States. So I think for me, I just saw the value that came from player development and what you could do for a person. And it just kind of became, yeah, it's a career, and yeah, it's how I make my money. But the passion really comes in just being able to kind of take a hold of a player and hopefully take them to kind of the next level with their game.
Yeah. And so, I mean, you touched on it there briefly already. So Derek and he originally started as your coach, and now you guys are business partners together there, so you guys have known each other for over a decade now and been working with each other pretty closely there. What's it been like to have sort of that one constant in that life there, and where you can really bounce ideas off each other, and sort of where each other are coming from? Has that been really beneficial to sort of your development as a coach there?
Yeah, I think so. Like it's been, I don't think everyone has a sounding board sometimes to kind of bounce ideas off of, and where I feel like I can bounce ideas off him without any, I guess he's not critiquing me. He's taking in the information. He's just trying to help me along. So he had a ton of experience in this field prior to me meeting him, and now I feel we're at a point where the both of us are able to kind of bounce ideas off each other, learn from each other, and just grow all the time. So he's been a good constant in my coaching career, and has been a big part of I guess me being able to be in this industry for so long.
Yeah. Yeah. What was it like, sort of, or maybe how did you even start to go from that, he's coaching you, to you're now employed with him, to sort of growing in that? How did that sort of just evolve over time, or was it, you approaching him and being like, hey, I'd like to do what you're doing? Like, how did that come about?
Yeah, it's pretty organic. I volunteered. I did my internship through Algonquin College with him when he was at Senseflex, and then that turned into a part-time job, and then I ended up going to the States to play hockey for a year, and it didn't go the way I planned, let's just say. So right at that point, he was like, hey, you can keep doing the hockey thing if you want, or he's like, I got a full-time job ready for you if you want to come home. So he helped me out with some of my schooling that I continued to do, and then I just slowly started doing full-time, and things just kind of snowballed, and I stopped the school thing and I kept with the hockey thing, and here we are today, kind of idea.
Yeah, yeah. And so, I mean, where you guys are today is no small feat either, right? You guys work with close to 10,000 clients a year on a normal non-COVID year,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, is there any, maybe one particular skill that when you're working with 10,000 athletes, obviously a bunch of different age and skill ranges and all sorts of stuff like that, but is there one skill that just comes up again and again that you are seeing that's being underdeveloped in Canadian hockey, whether it's skating or passing, stick handling, anything like that?
Um, I think it becomes a little bit age specific, and I guess sometimes even like gender specific. Like I find in girls hockey, they develop a little bit quicker on the skating side of things, but their puck skills are maybe a little bit behind, where guys, their puck skills will develop a little bit quicker, but I find that their skating skills will fall a little bit behind. But generalizing, I just think the fundamental skills just always seem to be lacking at older levels and can always be built upon. But I don't know if I could necessarily put my finger on something in particular.
Yeah, yeah, fair enough. And you know, is there maybe if there's someone who's listening right now who is aspiring to go from, let's say, you know, house league to competitive and sort of make that jump this season there, do you have maybe one or two sort of go-to things that you recommend that would help anyone's game that they can just do at home? You know, whether it's in their laneway or, you know, going to a park or shooting against a garage or something like that.
Yeah, I guess the first thing, like when it comes to skill development, player development, it's just make it manageable. I think lots of people see Austin Matthews come off the wall. He does a little footwork maneuver. He does a little dragon fire. He takes a shot on net. And there's a ton of different elements that go into making that skill a reality. And I think sometimes as players or even as coaches, we like to skip ahead and do it all at once. I think what you want to be looking to do if you're developing as a player is just basically find a little segment of that skill, maybe just the dragon fire part. Okay, get that down. Then find the motion that goes into it, the footwork that's needed, get that down, and then eventually kind of tie things all together at the end. So it's about making it manageable, and I think it's about making it have a purpose. So if I'm gonna practice a certain shot type, but I'm never going to use that in the game, maybe there's not as much of a purpose to using that slap shot I hardly ever use versus using that maybe that little dragon fire that I might use a little bit more often. So put a purpose behind your practice, put a reason behind why you're doing things.
Yeah, right on. And you know, not only are you working with, you know, minor hockey and kids and all of that there, but you're also working with some very high end clients as well too, right? You're working with the Ottawa 67s. You're doing quite a bit of work with the Ottawa GG's men's hockey program, and not to mention the NHL players that'll come through periodically and put in some work with you guys as well too. How did some of those relationships sort of get formed there? Was it, you know, you knew someone within the program? Did you guys sort of approach them and say, hey, these are the skills that we can sort of bring to the table? Are you interested? How did it come about?
I think on the like individual standpoint, for athletes at that level now, a lot of them just grew up with me. Like there's guys that are playing major, junior, or even some that are transitioning into pro right now that I've been coaching since they were 5 years old. So it just every year they got older, they got better, and they basically stuck around. So we still have the privilege of working with them. With 67s and Ottawa U, I was just lucky enough, or we were just lucky enough to have some connections to be able to get the opportunity to make things happen. And I think they like what they saw, so we were able to stick around. But that's basically just how those relationships came about.
Yeah, yeah. And when you're talking about, you know, such high end athletes like that, is there maybe a common trait or a characteristic that you see in them that, you know, that you can see why they sort of separated themselves from maybe their peer groups who didn't make the jump to that next level there, or who hung up the skates at age 18 or whatever? Is there something that is unique to that high end athlete there that you guys see?
Yeah, I mean, most of them are pretty driven, so that's kind of a good starting point to be working on. But most of them are students of the game. So you'll know this when you're working with a truly high end player. It's gone are the days, like we call it. It's a Google generation now. So gone are the days where you're going to go and you're going to tell an athlete that, hey, you're going to shoot this way, and they're not going to ask why. They're used to being able to grow up, go on their phone, type into Google a couple words, and get hundreds of resources come back to them, and that's how they go about forming their opinion. So it's the same with elite athletes nowadays. They expect a barrage of information. They want the who, they want the what, they want the why, as to why they're doing this skill and basically where it will relate in the game. So that's what I find really separates kind of high end just your average player is they want to know all the intricate details that go into it, so they can kind of refine each intricate detail to basically get a better end product.
Yeah, yeah. And, for those who are listening right now who haven't, checked out some of, whether it's on your Instagram page or online or whatever, there, some of the drills that you guys are working on with these athletes there. Number one, go check it out because it's some pretty, pretty interesting things there. But number two, you get the sense right away too, that these aren't just, you go down to any arena in the city and you can see, a coach with a whistle putting their players through these types of things. They're pretty unique drills because they simulate game situations, right?
Yeah.
And stuff that they would actually come across, right? Has that always been sort of a point of emphasis and sort of what drives, the rationale behind the drills that you guys come up with to put these guys through?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for us is, yeah, some of those are flashy, but we don't want to just sell tickets. You're not just going out and selling camps because something looks cool. You want to make sure you're putting practice behind purpose. Guys, I think see through things pretty quick, and if you're just throwing a bunch of obstacles out on the ice and it just happens to look cool, but it doesn't relate anyway in a game, guys figure that out pretty quick. So we're lucky that I don't think too many people get to dedicate their entire day to thinking hockey. So I feel like I've gotten pretty creative over the years with how we can go about making things apply to game situations, but keeping it unique and new for the players. So that's always just been a really big focus of ours, is keep it exciting, keep it new, but definitely make sure it's teachable and it's relatable to the game.
Yeah, yeah. And is there one sort of aspect of the drills that, it comes up time and time again that, for someone who is listening might be able to work on their own, whether it is, just really develop your wrist strength or really develop, hand-eye coordination, or, is there just a common thread through most of them that, that people should be putting more emphasis on that maybe they aren't right now?
No, I think, again, just for skill development, it comes down to making things manageable. So the way we teach a skill is in 4 different segments. We call it isolation, sequencing, patterning, and stress. So basically the way that works is your isolation phase is a small segment of a skill. So if you're making a tight turn, it might just be your edge work, your inside edge, your outside edge, just a small little part of it that goes into building the bigger skill. Your sequencing area is the order of operations, or the sequence that's going to happen when you go to make a tight turn. My stick leads, my head looks, I get on my outside edge, I make a crossover, I explode into space. My patterning is basically teaching the athlete, okay, where is that tight turn going to be used in a game recognizable situation? And then my stress, there's 2 types of stress. We got chaotic stress, or we got token stress. It is basically taking a skill that we've learned the small elements of it, we've learned where to apply in a game, and we're placing stress on that athlete. We're either adding in multiple pucks or we're adding in some form of pressure that basically we're hoping that in that patterning phase, you're able to demonstrate it with complete efficiency and effectiveness. And you do the same thing when you get into that stress phase and you have a little bit of pressure on you. And then hopefully that ultimately translates to the game.
Yeah, yeah, that's the end goal, right? So, I mean, now that you're on the other side of the spectrum and you're actually doing some of the coaching now, do you find yourself, looking back on your playing career, are you drawing on little tidbits from past coaches you've had over the years? Or is there any coachisms that, you hear come out of your mouth and you're like, oh my God, that was my PB coach used to say that all the time? Or
Yeah, I think for me, to be honest, and I say this to the coaches at Ottawa U sometimes, but like it's a completely different language, team coaching and skills coaching. I know enough on the team side to be dangerous and to hold my own in some conversations, but what they talk about and what we talk about from the skill side are completely different. They're saying stuff sometimes that I have no clue what you're talking about from a team perspective. And I think the same thing when we're talking about the technique that goes into stride or shooting. So it's 2 completely different languages. And I can't say, to be honest, that much that I learned growing up from team coaches is necessarily translated into the skill side that I'm in right now.
yeah, yeah, fair enough. And obviously there's a lot of uncertainties coming up with the season ahead, and everything from Hockey Canada all the way down to the Hockey Eastern Ontario. Lots of question marks going on.
Yeah.
What if you had gun to your head right now and had to make a prediction as far as what's minor hockey going to look like this year? What's your gut sort of telling you there? What do you think it'll look?
Yeah, I don't know. A lot smarter people than me are definitely making the decision, which is probably a good thing. But I'm going to guess it's probably going to be pretty practice heavy, which might mean it's pretty skill heavy, where you're probably going to be practicing in some sort of cohort, and then hopefully we're getting some games going here by the end of the year or early next year. But I imagine there's going to be a lot more emphasis on the practice element than there is going to be on the competition, at least for the first little bit.
Yeah. And do you think that might actually have some, unintended blessings in disguise almost, where because it's going to be so skill heavy and, like you say, probably a lot of the, if there even are tournaments, they won't be out of town tournaments. It'll be sort of your local bubbles and whatnot going on there. But do you think it might actually do good for the sport and, some of the deficiencies that players have sort of skated by with because they've been good enough to sort of make that team and they've got so many games to go on. Now they finally get to take some time and drill down to some of those things?
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably a little biased, but I don't think anything's wrong with a little extra practice, a little extra skill development. I think, too, if you think of the funnest part of hockey is definitely games. But if you think of in a game, how much do I actually have the puck on my stick? Okay, maybe a minute in a game, maybe if you're a pretty good player. How much am I actually in play? How much am I actually involved versus getting into a practice, getting into a skill session where, okay, I just ripped 100 pucks in this one skill session versus I'm not even gonna get 100 shots all year within the game. So, or within a season. So I think the benefit's just going to be the players are going to be spending more areas or more time in the small areas of their game versus just working on competing within games.
Yeah. And, obviously you guys are a great resource. And for those that aren't already subscribed to them, go and check out their social media pages and that there. But because there's going to be so much more practices going on, are there any resources out there for, that house league coach who might just be a dad on the team who used to play but not have sort of that formal training background? Any resources that you would recommend that they check out, whether it's online or from Hockey Canada or whatever, to help make those practices more impactful this year?
Yeah, Hockey Canada does have a little, I should say, quite a big little drill listing that you can make your way through, and I think they have them listed in terms of like these are good for novice players, these are good for bantam players, or U12 or whatever they call them now. So they're a great resource to use. And for me, to be honest, I have found Instagram to be a great resource. There's a lot of good hockey minds out there in the world. There's a lot of creative people. So if you're searching the right hashtags and you're searching the right things, you can definitely find some things to be pretty impactful right away. It's just again making sure that, okay, I find a drill, it looks like a great drill, it's really optically appealing, but what's the purpose? What's the reasoning? Sometimes it's not necessarily the drill that you're doing, it's the language and purpose that you're putting behind it that makes it impactful, not necessarily just the drill itself.
Yeah. Is there maybe one or two accounts that you recommend that they check out to maybe get some ideas from?
I really like Danny Hype. He's a guy that we've connected with a little bit over the last little bit, and he, to be honest, does a really good job of sharing basically everyone. So he's an account that I always check out, and he seems to filter his way through some of the better accounts too. So he's kind of my little cheat code to find all the good drills.
Right on. So, and for those who are listening who might not be familiar with sort of next gen hockey and then the whole, skating treadmill and all the apparatus that you guys actually have, if they were interested in learning more about you and whatnot, what's sort of your elevator pitch as far as what a skating treadmill is and what sort of benefits it brings?
So basically, for me, I think the skating treadmill is an incredible tool as a coach. It gives you the ability to be able to watch the athlete from multiple camera angles. It gives you the ability to isolate elements of the player's stride as they're skating. It gives you the ability to basically push the athlete with speed, push the athlete with incline, and key in on a bunch of different areas of their stride. And I think the biggest thing for the athlete is seeing is believing. So when you're on the ice, I might be like, hey, you're not fully recovering your feet. I'm like, no, I am. I'm like, no, you're not fully recovering your feet. Like, no, I am. But when you have the 10-foot mirror in front of you and you got the TV playing your side angle or playing your angle from the front, and you can visually see, okay, you weren't lying. I am not recovering my feet to the middle. I think it just kind of acts as a catalyst for their development because, again, yeah, seeing is believing. They see it, they believe it, and then they're able to see themselves as they slowly refine it and work on it.
Right on. And so, but before we let you go here, I'd be remiss if I didn't at least get your take on predictions for the NHL return to play here. Do you have any dark horse predictions, or how do you think everything's going to sort of shape up once they do hit the ice again in a couple of weeks?
Yeah, I don't know because it's going to be. I guess it's going to be a lot of who's put in the work here over the last little bit. Some guys are maybe going to have been a little bit more dedicated than others, but you're basically starting a new season. You guys are going to have to get up to speed pretty quick. So I'm not a Toronto fan, but I wouldn't mind seeing them do well. I think they're an exciting team to watch, and it's always a good product when it's on the ice. Or we have a couple guys with Chicago or the Islanders that we train that, hey, I wouldn't mind seeing them grab a cup either.
Yeah, yeah. And for those that are, people seem to be falling into one of two camps there. Some are saying, this season there should be an asterisk next to it. Others are saying, well, actually, it's probably harder this season because there's a giant layoff, and now we're expected to compete at playoff levels. What's your sort of take on that?
Yeah, I think it's unique. I think it's, hopefully it's not going to ever happen again. So to me, I don't think it deserves any sort of asterisk. I think it's going to be just as hard, if not harder. There's more opportunities for good teams to quickly lose out, and there's more opportunities for others to kind of take advantage of that. So I think it's shaping up to be exciting. It's going to be one of the only things on TV. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, yeah. And speaking of losing out there, who's the one team you don't want to lose in the playoff, the play-in round there, and then get the number one overall pick? Who's the one team that it would just drive you insane if they got Lafreniere?
Maybe Edmonton. They seem to have been pretty lucky over the last couple of years, and I think they'd probably be pretty deadly if you got McDavid, Draisaitl, Lafreniere. That'd be pretty scary thought for the whole league. But at the same time, it'll also be pretty exciting. I'm an Ottawa boy, so I think I'm probably, if I had to choose a team, I'm an Ottawa fan. But to me, I'm just a fan of hockey, and I think that actually could end up being a pretty exciting group to watch.
Yeah, that would be a pretty terrifying power play. So you can hop over the board there for sure. All right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with us and talk hockey there. For those who want to learn more about either yourself or Next Gen Hockey, where can they find you, or where can they learn more about the products you guys offer?
Yeah, we put a lot of information out through social media, so you can check us out at Next Gen Hockey or at Next Gen HKY on Instagram and Twitter. And then you can just visit us on our website at www.nextgeneration-hky.com. And if you want to reach out to me directly, it's evan@nextgeneration-hky.com.
Beautiful, beautiful. And as far as in-person locations, you guys have two now in Ottawa?
We have a Nepean location inside the Dome there on Knoxdale. And then we have another location in Canada, Stittsville area, on Iber Road. So we're normally there throughout the evening, basically training players, or right now actually throughout the day with COVID going on. So you can normally track down one of our coaches there if you're looking.
Beauty. All right. Well, thanks so much for taking the time. Hope you and your family stay happy, healthy during all this. And yeah, fingers crossed that the NHL return to play goes off without a hitch there, and we see some bodies on the ice sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and thanks for having me.
Awesome. Take care. And that's a wrap for another episode of the Dine Sports YouTube page and podcast network. Massive thank you, as always, goes out to our guest today, Evan Brownrigg from Next Generation Hockey, sitting down with us and sharing his journey through sport and what he has done now as an athlete who has now transitioned into the sports business world and sort of what that looks like as well, too. So some real great insights from that. And, we hope you guys were able to at least take away one or two things from that you can use in your own journey in the sports management industry. As always, we'd love to connect with you guys on social media. We've got various outlets there, all of them at Dine Sports. Feel free to connect with us on there, talk about either episodes or some of the other stuff that we've got going on, not only in the community, but contest-wise and job opportunities and all of that as well, too. So be sure to check those out. Got another great guest coming up later this week. I think you guys will really enjoy it. So we'll see you guys soon. Take care.